Well, good afternoon, and welcome to this week's edition of Drive Facebook Live. I'm your host, Bob Spitz, along with my partner, Tony Whistler.
Hello.
And we've got kind of a special show today because we have Doug Kaufman here, who is going to be interviewing us.
Hmm.
So, Doug, why don't you introduce yourself to the audience and let's get this show on the road.
Absolutely, Bob. Tony, thank you for inviting me to join you on this, well, hopefully beautiful Friday afternoon wherever you guys are. We're in Northeast Ohio. It's about 40 degrees and snow, following a few days of 70 degrees and sun. Typical Northeast Ohio weather.
There you go.
Um, I'm Doug Kaufman. I'm editor of ShopOwner magazine. Been in the industry, been in the automotive industry for, boy, looking back, 37 years. It's hard to believe that it's been quite so long for me to be in this industry. On this side of the desk as a communicator. You know, Shop Owner is a Babcock's media property. We have magazines and websites and newsletters and videos and all these different things that we do now. Um, have had a great partnership with Drive in many cases, and so it's a pleasure to join you guys today.
Well, it's
Glad to
great to
have you.
have you because we enjoy your publications and the videos that come out with Jason Stahl and
Yep.
and some of the other guys. They're very
Jason,
informative.
Andrew Markel,
Yeah.
Andrew's been down at some of your events and has had an opportunity to be part of those. I've had a great opportunity to meet a lot of your shop owners and work with some of them on some projects. So it's been a pleasure. I really appreciate it.
All right, not a problem. Glad to
Well,
have
guys,
your association.
we've been talking on Shop Owner a lot. Well, one of the things that we've talked about lately is succession planning and shop owners taking the next steps in their career. So for my benefit and for maybe for our viewers' benefit, how did you guys become such learned scholars in the ways of the automotive industry? We're tapped by the automotive gods. They came down, gave you the knowledge. What are your individual backgrounds? How did you get here?
Well, I'll go first. I started in this crazy industry in 1968 as a wet behind the ear apprentice in a four-bay sports car shop on the North Shore of Long Island, New York, working on the best and the worst Europe had to offer. Hadn't seen any Asian cars at that time. Well, actually, yes, the patio store in the next town over, the big town, the patio furniture store was selling Subaru 360s.
The patio store.
That's right.
You used to be able to buy a Schwinn at the Firestone store and all those things, but you could buy
Yeah,
cars at
yeah.
the patio store.
So yeah, I started pretty young in this game. Went to Votech school. After 4 years of apprenticing, I moved over to replacement parts and sales, dealership experience, GR experience, culminated in corporate. I worked for Repco Parts, which was the U.S. division of Repco back in the day, an Australian-based firm. We were well known for our hard parts, engine parts, brake parts. Because in those days, if you wanted to build a car in Australia, you had to source a certain amount of components from Australian companies. And Repco had that contract with Holden, General Motors, Ford, Nissan, Honda. And I worked for the U.S. distribution, and I was the senior product manager, controlling the cataloging and the sourcing of those components. And it was a great company. I was very proud to work for them. Heck, you know, they had built Formula One winning engines for Sir Jack Brabham in the 60s, you know, but by 1987, it was all over about the shouting with the devaluation of the dollar and ATK engines coming out of Japan
Mm-hmm.
and all of that. Well, Repco sold off everything, all their manufacturing worldwide. And today Ripco is a part of GPC. And so they're, a chain of auto parts. They're like Napa in Australia. And I was scratching my head thinking about what to do and ran into a fellow named Mike Lee, who, along with Bill Kilpatrick, started this company. I looked over his plan, what he was trying to get done, and I said, Mike, everything I've done in my life has kind of led me up to this point. Sign me on, and that was 30 years ago.
Wow.
You said 37. Go, yeah, it does pass quickly, doesn't it? So it's a case of if you're around long enough, it doesn't. It sounds like you're smart. It's just that you've been around a long time.
You've had a chance to meet great people. You get some great opportunities. Sure,
Yeah,
sure, sure.
absolutely.
Okay,
Tony,
I'll
how
go.
about you?
I'll go. I started with Drive in 2017. I think I was brought on because of my education background, my teaching and instructing background. I started working at private schools, and I have a pretty specialized certifications and how to teach staff and students how to actually learn. And I used to run programs out of those private schools. I worked at a private school in Atlanta and started there in 2000. And then I ended up when I moved to California, I had worked at two different private schools there, one in Orange County and one in LA. And then I eventually was courted by Drive. I think it was Larry Monroe that was the most interested because he knew I had instructor background, and he wanted to put my teaching skills to work. But the thing was, when I came to work there, I realized that back in the 90s, my stepfather and my mother owned a four-bay shop in Griffin, Georgia, and they had actually been on the program. I um, Now I knew they were doing a consulting program back in the mid 90s, and they had said, hey, they knew I was a very good instructor and I understood a lot about how to teach, and so they said, can you look over this program and tell me if you think it makes sense? And I said, well, let me have a look at it. So I started looking through the materials and I went, yeah, these guys are going to be great. Like they know what they're doing.
It was our material.
Yeah, exactly. And so I said, go ahead and you go ahead and sign up. And they said, okay, good. So they signed up. And back then, I think Bob can tell you it was probably a like a finite length of time back then. It was not around 95. It wasn't like all the time. So, but they ended up doing that program. It went really well for them. But then when I eventually went in, I realized, hey, I think this is the place that my parents used like 10, 15 years ago.
Wow.
It's been great. And of course, my main role here is I manage the entire workshop area where we do all of our training for our clients, right? Like Drive is made up of consulting, and that's one-on-one consulting, but we have workshop training, and then of course there's apps that we have for our clients, and then there's a marketing agency. So there's a lot of services we provide to just with the sole purpose to just help shops just have the life they thought they were going to have when they got their shop and then actually get them there. Yeah. And so I manage the entire workshop training area, and I'm very close with all of my instructors. I give them training. And most of our instructors now are actually shop owners as well, and so they bring a lot to the table. But yeah, that's how I got involved in this industry.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, the training required is quite a bit more complex now than back when Bob got started dealing with domestic cars. Even the mechanical training aside, and the electronics but the shop operations is so much more complex these days than, well, man, even when I started in this business, we'd see an ad for a computer in the magazine, an old Triad system or something like that, and that was high tech stuff. The dot matrix printer, and how things have changed.
three disc systems, and
exactly. Yeah. We'd ask our readers, do you use a computer? Oh, no. My kids have those. I would never. Why would I ever need one of those in my in my operation?
Yeah.
Talk about that. Talk about that evolution of Drive over the years, dealing with your customer, your partner's expectations and your members' expectations.
Well, we had a bit of a leg up because Bill Kilpatrick is comes from the world of software. He once owned a company called the Software Works, which created software for service stations to manage the gallonage and the C stores and the bays. And Mike Lee, his partner, came from the transmission industry. He worked as the general manager of an MSO on the West Coast, and they developed one of the early shop management systems called management feedback systems. So we were already very geared towards automation for an auto shop, even though the industry really wasn't quite there yet. So we steered them towards that direction early on. Now, I'll tell you right now, as you're saying, in the early 90s, most of the shops that were coming on to get help from us did not have a shop management system. Heck, they didn't even have cash drawers. Their right pocket was their cash drawer.
Right.
So we were always very big in KPI management, and we had software to help them learn how to manage their business using KPIs and learning how to create graphs and read trends. That was very early on for us. And then we tackled, the four real big areas of the business. And, that's finance and shop throughput, flow, organization, marketing, and sales. We tackled those areas and we hit them hard. And it wasn't uncommon for our shops to just take off, just fly, with just getting some key basics in place. Like pricing your services correctly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Back in the old days, if you walked home with more in the pocket than you had when you started the day, it was a good day. If the wad was a little bit bigger, it was a good day.
That's right. And marketing was very simple back then. You had a business card, you handed it to one person, and as my friend who was a good wrench service writer for 20 years, he said, if we didn't abuse the customers too badly, they came back.
That's right.
Because they had to. The cars were so poorly manufactured.
And isn't that right? My first car was a 1974 Camaro that I got 6 years after it came out, and it should have been condemned. It should have been illegal to drive.
A 6-year-old car in the early 70s or late 60s. Yep. Oh man.
Yeah.
Those were those $500 cars.
Yeah, my first car was $500. It was a '74 Ford Maverick. You guys can cringe at that.
Well, I'll tell you my first car, because I was into imports. My first
getting
job
them from the patio store, sure.
Yeah, that's right. And my first car was a 59 Saab 93 with suicide doors.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Little 750cc 3-cylinder, 0 to 60 eventually. If you had a tailwind behind you, and
eventually.
But they were fun things to drive and to work on. Very simple, 9 moving parts in the engine. So when I met Mike, I knew exactly where he was going with everything, because I'd worked in a lot of shops, and I saw a lot of the silliness and the unprofessionalism, and that's always been one of our drives, is to bring that level of professionalism and integrity higher in the automotive industry, the repair industry, so that people do have trust, because the trust is still an issue. A good friend of mine the other day is asking me, gosh, I just got this estimate from this shop, and they said it's all this money. And I said, doesn't sound right, right? And got her to get a second opinion. Sure enough, the first shop kind of blew it.
Yeah.
Right. So we still have those issues, and we work hard to raise that level of integrity and ethics.
Yeah. And that's part of what I loved about coming here, because I noticed that they not only were caring a lot, and it's all about help, really. You just want to help people. And they wanted to help their clients and they wanted to help these individual shops. But it wasn't too long before I got here that I realized it wasn't only just about the individual shops. It was about trying to help improve the condition of the entire industry. And I just thought, wow, what a powerful goal. Like, it's a really great goal to have. And it's such a true goal. Like, because it is about wanting to just genuinely help, but it is also about genuinely wanting to make the entire industry better and make the people in it better. And the result ends up being that the people who use the product, the consumers, they have a better experience. And one of the things I've noticed about our clients too is they don't there's when it's really dialed in, nobody ever feels intimidated. And I can remember being a kid and my first car, and I was just crazily intimidated by taking my car to a shop because
sure.
I didn't know anything about cars back then, and I was just like, okay, And I think that most of our shops are very accommodating and very welcoming to the general public, and I think that shows in the community.
Sure. And we are all in this together. We may be competitors on one reason, in one stretch. Even the drive shops are technically competitors with each other, but we're all in this together, and we've got to raise the image of the entire industry to make sure that the industry survives and thrives.
Absolutely. Without it, the consumer has no choice.
That's right.
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 We had a
the
couple
good news
shops
is,
on the program. Sorry, we had a couple shops on the program that were literally in Kansas City. They were both on the program and they were within 10 blocks of each other. And they were just best friends. They would come to the expos
really?
together. They would make plans to come and do workshops because we used to deliver work. We still do occasionally do workshops in person, and they would come to our in-person workshops. They were just fast friends, and they were literally 10 blocks apart from each other. And never once did I hear either one of them think that either one of them were competing with each other, because there's plenty of work out there.
Yeah.
And they never felt like they were trying to take work away or needed to take work away from each other. And they were great friends. And that's the driveway right there.
Boy, how that has changed over the years, huh?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. But Tony's right. And we teach them the competition is inside their shop,
Yep.
competing to run the best shop that they possibly can.
Sure.
And to do it right, because you can do very well in this industry doing it right.
Mm-hmm.
But as you started out saying, the whole industry has gotten more sophisticated because the cars are so much more sophisticated, and the management techniques are so much more sophisticated because of they need to be. The efficiency points have got to be there, and that's where computerization has helped tremendously, is in that exact point. But they've got to stay on top of everything. And I've always been a big proponent of shops joining trade associations, because it's so impossible for an individual shop on their own to know what the heck is going on in their capital, right? And to have a voice in government is so important to know what those changes are. We did a survey of California shops years ago, and we asked them, what concerns you most about operating your shop? And the number one answer was government regulations that I don't know about.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Because government loves to go right to penalty and not correction.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
And boy,
So,
California had the regulations.
Oh, they
CARB
most certainly do.
and all those things that not only still have.
Still do.
Well, plus, the U.S. has what, 75% of all the attorneys in the world, and California's got 75% of them. So, so you got to really stay on top of your toes, and it's very hard to do unless you are connected up. And publications like Babcock help tremendously to read what's going on in the industry. Jason is so great at keeping people informed of changes that are happening in the industry. He has some wonderful guests on it. In fact, I think they're going to be at our expo, aren't they?
I think you're right. The collision repair
body shop
side,
business.
Yeah, the collision side of the world. In fact, that's where I got my start here at Babcock. I started on body shop business back in 1987, really before the whole insurance issue was a huge deal. It was educating. I remember the key points then was educating the consumer that you can take your car wherever you want to. The insurance company doesn't get to dictate where you get your car fixed. You can take it wherever you want to because you pay the insurance bill.
Yeah.
And from
We're
talking
still
to
training
Jason
that.
over the years,
We're still training that. There's
Yeah.
still people out there that don't know that that's true.
yeah.
Well, steering was more rampant back in '87.
Was it? Yeah.
But Jason would tell you now, and I've talked to him about that it's getting increasingly difficult for shops to deal with insurance companies because they want to manage what goes on the car and
Oh yeah,
educating everybody about that, the safety aspects.
I know, but that Eagle lawsuit a couple of years ago in Texas really was a warning shot across the bow of the entire industry. You do it the OE way or you don't do it,
Mhm.
Right.
right? Insurance companies cannot dictate to you how to fix that car. That's not their job. That's OE's job. So, yeah, collision, no doubt about it. They're always on the front line. They see the newest technology. They see
Right.
all the changes. They've got the insurance industry to cope with. And I think that's one of the reasons we're seeing so much consolidation.
Yeah.
You see these big MSOs like, holy cow, 1,000 shops.
Yeah, and that's a great point. The traditional automotive repair shop dealing with typical cars on the road for underhood and under car service. The typical car on the road is 12 years of age, but the collision side, they're facing cars that may be a week
6
out of
months
the
old.
yeah, they're a car can wreck anytime. So
You're right.
right.
One week old. It's
Yeah,
in their shop.
yeah.
And
So
like some
they are
self-driving something or other, or like they got a lot of stuff to deal with on that.
exactly. And is that some of
Sensors.
the Tony? Is that some of the key educational stuff that you're faced with? Is keeping people up to date with the technology?
Well, we are a management. We deal with the management side. So we don't deal with actually teaching like technicians how to fix things. There's
Mhm.
a ton of guys out there that do that. Drive is all about teaching them how to fix their shop and how to run their business. And so I don't really get into too many workshops that deal directly with anything having to do with the technically the fixing of the shop.
I got it.
But we certainly get into the workflow and how you move the material through the shop. That's in one of our workshops called Controlling the Front. And we talk about that a lot. But that again goes back to how is the business running? It's like we're not fixing cars, we're fixing businesses. And
Yeah.
and so and they go to other places for that training. And I've worked with a lot of clients who are very geared toward learning. They're very learning driven, and so they are doing our workshops, they're doing the management workshops, they're sending their employees to our sales workshops to learn how to sell better, but they're also sending their technicians to get technician training. And one of the things we teach also, and this goes back to managing your shop, you have to have some kind of a training system in place in your shop today. It can't just be maybe you should go do that thing on the ASE training or whatever. We have them set up very specific ways that they push their employees through more and more training, and they get it set up, and so they know how to predict. Again, it has to do with planning, and they create training plans for all their employees. And a lot of that is our stuff, but a lot of it is like for the technicians getting trained, getting to master tech. But we instruct them to do those things.
Yeah, it's a big part of employee management, which we teach very heavily, how to assess employee skills. Employees, it's talk about an evolution of the industry and just society. The modern day employee is a very different beast than I was. Benefits. I thought, hey, you gave me a job and you're paying me, right? And you give me 1 day off a week.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
So, understanding employee benefits and understanding how to work with employees, how to work with the next generation. The Gen Zs are entering our industry. What are their needs and wants? What are their sensibilities? So we stay on top of that. and so that they can do a better job at recruiting and hiring.
Kind of to hit back to where I started when we've been talking about succession planning. Uh, how much of a element does that play in your programs to help the shop owner build that successful shop so that eventually they can maybe not be working anymore?
Oh,
Oh,
absolutely.
absolutely.
We have a master workshop on succession and exit planning. We have another master workshop on planning for success. You know, the old saying that the right time to start your succession and exit plan is the day you start your business.
That's
Mm-hmm.
right.
Right? One of the mistakes that shop owners are making is they're waiting until I'd like to retire next year.
Yeah, it's a
You
little
know?
late. When
Right.
I teach the class, I always tell them it's never too late or it's never too early. Um, the never too late, it's never too late, really. You'll figure out a way, but it's never too early. And one of the things that I noticed also, Bob did a great keynote speech at one of our expos a couple of years back on this, where, you know, if you're thinking about succession, you're thinking about leaving the shop, that sets your mind in a place where you're going to get the shop more dialed in, because you'll never leave a shop that's in a disorderly state, managerially speaking or
Mm-hmm.
administratively speaking. So it's almost been the two things benefit each other. Like if you're always thinking, you know what, I'm not going to be here one day, and then you start putting systems in place that will operate when you're not there, then that gets you to a state where the shop is running much better more quickly, and it also gets you in a place where you can actually leave at some point,
Yeah,
which is going to happen.
because we help shops do the typical transition. You take the fellow who starts off a fabulous technician, opens up his own shop, and he's wearing every hat.
Right.
And eventually he has to get some technicians in there, and then he has to get a service advisor in there, and then he starts backing away and managing. And then what does that mean to manage your business? And then how do I become an operational owner with a manager who's running it? These are stages that a shop goes through, and we call them the stages. And we walk them through that, and it's not an overnight, it's not an overnight thing, but it depends how motivated and driven the shop owner is. We like to say, run your business like you have to sell it.
Hmm.
So that means you're keeping it in really top shape, including the books all
Yeah.
the time, right? Because a lot of them make mistakes there financially, and it hurts them when they try to move out. So yeah, we teach them how to do that, and that is a big part of our program. Tony, we're starting to run out of time here, and we have a station break.
We do have a station break, Bob. Next Friday, April 12th, we're going to have Uzil Gonzalez and Erkan Osbergachi. And I'm sorry, Erkan. Erkan is a good friend of mine, but I've literally known him for 5 years and I still don't know how to pronounce his last name. But they are going to come on, and they're staff of Drive. And we're going to have a little discussion with them um, about what they do here at Drive, and the SBA, and a service that we
The shop
provide here.
business analysis program, they run it.
Yeah, they run it, and thank you for the. We're so used to using abbreviations around here, shop business analysis, and so they're going to be on next Friday, and of course we cannot forget to mention that we're having an expo in June. So please come to the expo if you can make it. It's going to be in Dallas.
It's always fun,
Always
great learning
wonderful.
experience.
Yep.
Networked with some of the best shops in the country.
I have heard great things about it, and I appreciate you guys letting me come on here and hijack today's show. It
was wonderful.
Oh, it was a pleasure having you, Doug.
Yeah.
Hope we were able to at least hit some of the some of the key points that you thought we should cover, because I always thought it was a fascinating discussion talking about what the next big thing for all of us in the industry is.
Yeah. Well, the one constant is change, and
Exactly.
we have to stay on top of it,
Yep.
and we do.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. All right. Well, I
Well,
want to thank you so much for joining us, Doug.
hey, my
Uh,
pleasure. My pleasure.
Appreciate it.
We've got an eclipse going through Ohio
Ooh, that's
Oh, hey,
right.
you're
on
ready.
Monday. We're in the totality. We're in the path of totality right
Holy
here in
cow.
Akron, Ohio. So if you guys want to come up and join all of the madness, you're welcome to come to Akron, Ohio on Monday. There's
Well,
a
hopefully
chance of
it'll
it
be
actually
clear.
being there's a chance of it actually not raining, which is
That'd
odd for
be-
this time
that'd
of
be
year.
great.
That would be
but,
great.
Well, I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Once again, this is Bob Spitz with Drive Facebook Live. And our special guest was Doug Kaufman of Babcock Industries. And Tony, we're done.
We're done. See you guys.